Welcome to the Mindset Game podcast. I'm absolutely grateful and excited to have Otto Siegel with us today. Otto is the founder and CEO of Genius Coaching. He is an expert in the fields of positive psychology, educational kinesiology, and behavioral science. As a family success coach, Otto partners with families of brilliant and sensitive outliers between the ages of 7 and 27 to help them overcome behavioral and emotional challenges by finding out who they really are. He is the co-author of Yes, You Are a Genius and has created the Genius Profile, which is an interactive assessment to evaluate human brilliance. Otto is a master certified coach accredited by the International Coach Federation and holds a master's degree in education from the University of Munich. On a personal note, Otto and I met about 10 years ago through the International Coach Federation, and I've had the privilege of attending several of your workshops and trainings, which have all been excellent. And also had the opportunity to bring Otto into my daughter's school, their private school here in Phoenix, Arizona, to train the teachers on his genius coaching methodology, which again, I had received very positive feedback about from the teachers and the staff at the school. Otto, thank you for being with us today.
My pleasure to be on your program, Verit, and thank you for such a personal and shining introduction.
Well, it's well-deserved. You really are an expert in your field, which is why I'm so excited to have you share with us today. So why don't we start out by learning a little bit more about you, maybe how you got into this amazing world of genius coaching?
Well, all my life, I was a highly intelligent outlier. I know what I'm talking about. Just never having a lot of friends in school, being this smart kid who blurted out the answers for a grade higher up from my own grade, and all the drama that comes with it, the acknowledgement, the bullying, everything. So needless to say, as I grew up, I find out there must be a hidden blessing in this being an outlier, because it can feel lonely and lost. And I went through this called teenage depression. And then when you persist and build it more and more, you become an expert. And that's what I decided to do. I had 17 years of teaching experience in Germany and in Brazil. And then I had enough teaching because I couldn't stand the routine anymore. So I found coaching, and coaching found me. That's when it clicked in my brain. This learning stuff is behavior-based, not knowledge-based. Open your hearts. And coming along full circle, I'm a parent myself. I have 3 children. One of them is adopted in Brazil. They have 2 children, each one of them on their own, which means a total of 6 grandchildren. I know parenting inside out. And that led me to that passion. I wish I would have wanted me 40 years ago. To find out parenting can be joyful. And it is my mission in life now as a professional coach to make parenting more joyful, parenting from the heart. And that's what I share with the world, and I cannot wait to share it more with people. After 19,000 coaching hours, I cannot wait for the next one.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm so grateful that you brought up this concept of parenting being joyful. And I imagine there are a lot of parents out there listening that either recall as they reflect back when their kids were younger that it wasn't so joyful, and maybe they're currently in that right now. So what do you suggest to people right now listening who are really struggling as parents?
This goes for parents and grandparents. I see a unique opportunity just by realizing the fact parenting is something we sometimes repeat our own childhood subconsciously. We pass on things we don't even like about our childhood. I call it a play trauma. But the flip side of that is grandparents and parents have a huge chance for a fresh start by remembering how did you enjoy your own playtime? Was it really playful, or was it not so playful? And then from there, you remember how much fun it was when you had your first baby. You paid all the attention to this baby. Everything was on Instagram. Everything was on Facebook. Everything was posted and shared with friends. You were so proud. Where did you spend hours with this baby, just looking at her and enjoying that? There was a deep joy she or he brought to your life. Where did all this go? It is the first language we all speak before we even learn English. Why do we give up this first language? We can go back and forth between English and playing, but never forget the first language, play. That's where grandparents can have a healing effect on their grandchildren just through play. And that's what we found out. And it's a phenomenal revolutionary change in the way I have been coaching all along. Because playing bridges gaps between skin colors. Playing has no discrimination, no age limits, nothing. Kids play with their grandparents as excitedly as they play with each other. And that's a huge energy we use for reconnecting with our true self, with our true nature as human beings.
Wow. And you mentioned this concept of play trauma. And, that really our current behavior, I imagine, is a reflection of some of those earlier experiences, as you described. Would you be willing to share a little bit more about that? How does our past impact us as parents today or grandparents?
Maybe I grew up in a very play, how can I say that? In an environment where playing was not really encouraged. It was just, okay, my parents were exhausted coming home from work, no time to play. I'm just exhausted, leave me alone. So who speaks my first language with me? A lot of frustration I didn't know I had even, that eventually led to a teenage depression because I didn't have enough play. And then I discovered sports as an outlet for play, not to be all ambitious about a certain discipline. I wanted to play volleyball and basketball and track and field and swimming and everything and skiing in winter. I grew up in Bavaria, for all places. So the fun with playing, the fun with moving your body prevented my childhood depression. So I know about the profound healing of play.
And would you be willing to share with us at some point in our conversation today some maybe fun play exercises that people can do with their children, with others, maybe even in the workplace to bring more of that play energy?
Absolutely. Let's make it really simple. And this is a juggling ball. But in reality, it's a communication tool. Just throwing a ball from one person to another, catch and play. You face this person. You're totally focused on the other person. You respect the other person. You trust he or she will catch. You trust she will throw back. All these subconscious, profound imprints are happening by throwing a ball back and forth. Nothing sophisticated, but as an adult, you can understand the depth of play. And that's what I teach in seminars, in lectures, wherever I go, left and right. But the profound is just, the impact is just very, very profound.
So thank you for sharing that. And it reminds me of experiences where I've had working. There was a company that I worked with where we would work with leadership teams and doing all kinds of games. That's really what it was, just fun outdoor games. And we would hike together. And, of course, there would always be a purpose, whether it's to work on communication or on kind of team bonding or whatever that might be, trust, as you said. So absolutely, I know the value of that. And so how does mindset come into play when it comes to the parent-child relationship?
I'm glad you asked this question. That is so profound because the mindset can be very serious, very controlling, and play has no space in that kind of mindset. If a mindset is open, playful, giving up control, not knowing what's going to happen when I catch this ball or when I do this specific game with people I don't really know halfway, that is when creativity happens. And this creativity needs to have a boost all the time. That's how we really solve problems, not through thinking only. We solve it with creativity, especially now, coming out of COVID. Creativity is much more needed than ever before. On the parenting level, on the leadership level, on executive level, everywhere. Playing is a catalyst for creativity.
And what about, those individuals right now that might be thinking, this sounds amazing. I would love to play with my child, my children, but I just don't have the time, or I'm so distracted when I'm with them. It's hard for me to be present because I've got just so much noise from, all the stuff I have to do. How does one deal with that and still be present with their family?
Yeah, that is an executive decision to make. The minute you close the car door and walk into the house, you decide, now I speak the first language, not English. Even if I do it only for 5 minutes, I leave my role as an exhausted parent, as an exhausted professional, and play. If nobody's here, I play with my own juggling balls. Or I do something weird moves, shaking the day off, moving my body, just shaking it off what happened.
Yeah.
And that is play. Your mindset adjusts immediately because after one day of fully disciplined left brain work is such a relief to open it up, to shake it loose, and to bring your body back to life. Play does this like nothing else. It's the most important and most effective stress buster in the world. Totally underestimated. We discover it and bring it back to life, full speed.
And it's so cool that you mentioned that we can even just kind of play by ourselves. It's such a kind of a new concept, I think, to a lot of people, especially when playfulness or fun is kind of lower on the values list, when there are other things that are, seem to be more important, or at least seem to be, pulling for their attention. And so, I like the idea of just kind of taking a few moments to shake it off, or, just allowing ourselves, some playtime. What other suggestions do you have for us to transition from the workday to kind of family time or alone time that will allow us to kind of release some of those energies?
The mindset is the one that has to shift first. Okay. This is my playtime now. When I walk in the room, I look around, what can I play with? When I walk in the gym after work, today, this gym is my playground. I don't think about deadlifts or push-ups or pull-ups. I think about what machine do I want to play today and how many times. What happens, you focus on your body actually doing the workout, if I stick with this example. Because you see, okay, oh, now my biceps moves. Now my triceps moves. Now my abs are contracting. You get in touch with your body. And the profound impact is, if you feel good in your skin, the world around you changes. If not, the world around you is miserable. I simplify a little bit, but only a little bit. Mindset is crucial. Who sets your mind, if not you? Or in other words, who informs your brain? It's not the brain informing itself. The brain is just processing. The imprints come from your senses and from your organs from the inside. And you have a lot to say. How do I inform my brain? I set my mind. I am in charge. It's the most empowering thought you can have, that you put yourself in charge and not being a victim of your mindset.
I just love that you said it is a decision. It is an executive decision, because it really is. It's our conscious mind, giving a direct order to our unconscious or subconscious mind. And I agree that in that permission is when we can even start to see opportunities for play where maybe we just couldn't see them before. Yeah. And how about maybe for parents of kids that are kind of preteens to teens, where, maybe our kids don't even want to hang out with us anymore. They may not want to play. How can we connect with them and make parenting even more fun?
One of my favorite questions you ask here. Thank you, Mary. Well, sometimes it looks in this situation would be impossible. But then you go back and remember with your teenager, at one point in her life, you had fun to play with her. What was that? What was that magic that connected you? And then you start to go right there when that disconnection happened, before it happened. So, do you remember we played this? I don't know. And then you start to play this by yourself. Okay. And then all of a sudden, oh yeah, eventually the borders melt down. Don't expect overnight success. Okay. That's not what I'm talking about at all, because they were very built up for decades sometime, or half a decade at least. So the point being, you start playing yourself with silly stuff. Let me see my parent being silly, not so serious all the time. Let me see my parent as a human being, not as a parent that is a dictator for my brain, which I hate so much as a teenager. So all of a sudden, by playing, we have subconscious thoughts and feelings welling up that need so important healing and attention, because it disappears in the dark. That's where the separation happens. So superficial games have a profound impact on the conscious, subconscious, and every other mind.
And I am completely with you. And, and on a personal note, this is very helpful to me, because I'm one of those people that, didn't play as much, certainly not with my parents when I was younger. I got, played with friends out on the street back in the days when we would just go outside and play. That's right. And, so it's interesting because the dynamic in my family, and I wonder if it's the same for some of the people listening, is where my husband is more kind of the fun, playful, parent. So he's always, when they were little, he'd be, on the floor playing with them and being silly with them. And I was more of the, okay, let's get things done. And, yes, there was some play and imagination. I would read to them and sing to them and all those things, but not as much active play. I was more the observer of play. And do you see that sometimes in some of the families that you work with, that kind of dynamic when one parent takes the playful role and the other maybe not as much? And if so, what do you recommend?
Who defines playful? Okay, you just gave us a brilliant overview of your own play history. It was different than your husband's. So,
yeah.
Guess what? You pass on a different kind of play than he does because of a different play style. That's what he do too. Analyze different play styles. There's no right and wrong in play. Okay, some can be more book oriented or more story oriented. Or singing, dancing. Of course, that's play. Or doing gymnastics is play. We just call it differently. We call it exercises later. No, it's playing with your body, doing push-ups. Okay, not I need to do 10 push-ups more than yesterday. That's the ambition that is not playful and actually takes the fun out of working out. So there's so much to rethinking to put your mindset in a playful mindset. I work with 3 areas in this area: playful, joyful, and thankful. And the fourth one eventually comes on board later, thoughtful. Now we have 4. If you need a philosophy background, the reason to switch to playfulness, here's the reason. It's just more fun, much more fun. Do I need to have a scientific backup for that? I don't think so.
And, I think for many of us, just the whole concept of bringing play back into life when there's so much stress, it's hard to even think of play. We might say, okay, I'm going to, on the weekend, I'm going to, go get a massage, or I'll go do something that's playful or relaxing. Or maybe on vacation, I'll loosen up a little bit more. But day to day, a lot of people, I know I hear this from clients that, they struggle to have fun. Some of them actually make, a happy list. What do I enjoy doing? Because we've kind of disconnected from that.
Yeah.
As we follow our ambitions, as you said, and want to build and build and build. So what suggestion do you have for people, whether it's parents or not parents, in order to kind of bring more of that play once they've made the decision? Yes, I hear what Otto is sharing today. I want to do this. What's the first step? Let
them have an official diagnosis as to having a play disorder. So we know what they're facing.
What do you mean by that?
Instead of ADD, if they just asking a question, I asked every parent the same question. When was the last time you played? You wouldn't believe when I get a blank stare. You need to think about it. That's a play disorder.
Wow.
The point is, it's very curable. That's why we do this program now, this online program, Parent Playtime. They play with each other, with parents they never knew before, just to realize I'm not the only one. Okay, it's a pandemic we're talking about. It's big. It's the root cause for anxiety. It's the root cause for ADHD, because kids develop ADHD just to entertain themselves. They develop play disorders online with video games to take the whole desire for playing into a virtual world, not in the real play world. We need to come back from the virtual world into the real world in the 3-dimensional play. So there's a huge thing. The play disorder is a big sickness. Yeah. I'm happy to diagnose everybody who wants to have it in writing.
And, when you ask that question, I think you imagine there are a lot of blank stares out there as as people hear that question. And I myself was like, when did I play? And so this is where it gets into the definition of play. I did a little bit of yoga nidra this morning. That for me is play in the sense that I did something fun and I enjoyed and it's relaxing. It's not like, throwing a ball around or, something like that. So what is the definition of play? Do we need to do it with other people, or, is it really just with ourselves? What is that?
I started to open my mind for play during COVID. Because, to be honest with you, there's so much discussion going on about anxiety and how to battle anxiety, until I was invited to a presentation for the local AHET conference, The Joy of Being Brilliant. If brilliant is not fun, who wants to be brilliant? Okay, it's just not fun. They don't give me the rewards for that emotionally. Mentally, I get all the straight A's and the IB programs and all the tutors in the world and the Ivy League colleges. Absolutely, that's not the point. The emotional void, that's what I need to fill with play. And now during and after COVID, more than ever, it's a real pandemic that will last for decades. I'm very clear about that. And to fill it with something silly like play, it's a very unusual concept. The only thing I know after doing playtime for parents for several times, it works. That's all I know. And it works quickly. And it renews family cultures in weeks, not in years. Wow. Because it's the first language we speak. Everybody understands play, even if you don't speak the same language. Spanish-speaking, English-speaking kids play with each other, no hesitation whatsoever. If they come from a Hebrew background, a German background, doesn't matter. Playing is international. And that's why I know the healing power of play is really profound, emotionally. And everybody can benefit. I don't see anything would be a drawback from playing. I never heard I play too much. But I hear, yeah, I hear frequently I work too much. Yes. And I hear frequently I don't play enough. Yes. How about reversing that?
Yeah.
Even work can be playful. If you're playful at work, you juggle with your priorities. Okay. Instead of calling yourself ADD, I'm a professional multitasker. Mm. It's a whole different mindset when you shift into playfulness. And one thing you do for sure, you engage your intuition, you engage your emotion, and you engage your imagination. Those are powerful tools to create whatever you're supposed to create professionally and personally.
I believe everything you're saying. And, you know, some of our previous episodes have been really about kind of that mind-body connection and about how to get coherence between our head, right? All the to-do lists and all that stuff, and heart, which is emotions, imagination, play, right? That just beingness, if you will, rather than doing. And if it's all right with you, I want to go back to the focus on parenting and this kind of how we started with parenting being more fun. What do you hear, from parents that don't see their, engagement with their kids or time with their kids as fun? What are some of the things that you hear?
For example, I hear recently parents said, I tried to play with my 14-year-old teenager. I didn't know how until she taught me. I asked her to teach me. They both broke out in tears after half an hour of play. I think that tells the story right there. Or the other mom, I washed my dishes and my daughter came over and said, help me. She didn't. So I stopped washing dishes and played with her for 10 minutes. And she joined me to help finish my job. Without a word spoken. We call this behavior modeling. From a child's perspective, just think about it for a moment. If you come as a parent, you speak my language, play, I trust you. Now you can ask me to help you and speak your language, the adulting. We call it adulting. Mm-hmm. Okay? If that's not the case, we don't have emotional connection. No wonder in teenage years when I'm supposed to find my own personality, we drift apart. No wonder, because a play barrier has been broken, has been a play barrier established between us. So the emotional meltdown is important. And it can be very simple. Don't need to sit down and play around a Monopoly. That's not necessary. Simple games. That's what we teach in parent playtime. We teach them again to play. And the results are just absolutely mind-blowing for me as a coach. I never saw this in my life, and I've been coaching for a long time, since 2007. And I never saw this in my life. It's such a quick success and fun success. Because if it's fun, they want to repeat it. I don't need to have willpower in game, in my play. No, this is fun. Let's do more. What else can we do? Now we shift the mindset completely from analyzing to creation. And that's where we need to go. Analyzing will always be part of the picture, but not the dominating part. Creativity is so colorful. Sometimes I feel when I coach these parents and parent groups, we walk from a black and white movie to a full color movie. That's the experience I have over and over again with them. And they have it with me. They want to stay in touch with each other, the parents, of course. How do you implement this? What do I need to do? Am I totally stupid? No, I'm not the only one. I mean, the discussions are so alive and life-giving. And that has an ongoing paying forward effect. And that's what I'm after.
I'm excited to practice this. I'm excited to learn more. Before we end, would you be willing to share maybe like 2 or 3 additional kind of ideas for parents to play with their kids, maybe a couple for younger kids and a couple for older kids? And I'm also curious, do we do this spontaneously? Do we schedule time with her, especially when it's like teenagers and they're so busy? Do we like say, hey, let's hang out, and right? How do you suggest that especially for parents that don't have a lot of rapport right now with their kids, that there's a little bit of a disconnect. So it's not so smooth and easy to invite play back into the relationship.
You use the keyword, and it's called spontaneous. Don't plan it. Mm-hmm. There's a feeling when there's a little opening going on, otherwise you run against the same barriers, no question. Spontaneity is king, okay? And then you might start just to throw a few juggle balls by yourself. You know what? I have to make a confession to you, dear teenager. I unlearned to play. Okay, I didn't play forever. This open vulnerability, you ask your child, the child is closer to the play area than you are in your life. The child is the expert. Simple asking a question like we do as coaches, what is your favorite game? How about that? Any age group will respond to that.
And what if they answer, being on my cell phone and watching TikTok or watching my YouTube videos, right? Which is very common for a lot of youngsters these days. What if that's all they want to do?
That's right, because they don't know better. So there's a lot. That's why parent playtime is so crucial. We fill a void I didn't even know it existed. Parents don't know how to play anymore. We can help them to make play fun again. It's the biggest communication breaker. And it's individually different in any situation, but everyone I want to do first, start playing first on your own. Start shaking up or do some weird moves you never showed your child. Show your parent you can actually dance, okay? You can be awkward, you can create a song, whatever you can do as a human being, okay? And then, I didn't know that about you because you were the parent. The parent is such a narrow role, they don't see you as a human. Show them the humanness of you. Throw a ball in the air, do a handstand, whatever it is, spontaneously. And if nobody, what's weird with you, don't worry about it. You are the leader in the family, okay? With your playing intent, we call it intentional play. You play with intention to learn how to do this in our parent playtime. And then based on that, you open the door again because you find this commonality. What do you have in common? Something might be playful for me, but not for you. What is playful for you? How do you act when you're silly? Forget the cell phone. They can play on the cell phone, but have a conversation. Can I throw a ball in your face? Ask for permission. Do something unusual, spontaneous, and crazy. Playing is out of control and simple, and then it works like a charm. Spontaneous, out of control, simple. Trust your own play intuition. That's another term we coin as we speak. There's an intuition about play. There's spontaneity about play. We need to fill these terms with meaning to make it meaningful. That's what we do with parent playtime.
And I just love that you kind of introduced this. Thank you for articulating that and introducing this concept that we first need to kind of play ourselves, because if I imagine that if we go and try to initiate this even spontaneously with a loved one, but we ourselves are kind of disconnected from our own play intuition, that inner child of us that just longs to play and be silly and not look at our, clock, watch, and, we're less inhibited when we are with our children or others.
And from that point of view, yes, put it on your own calendar. When I come home, 15 minutes playtime. It's my appointment with me. Okay, I do handstands. I lay on the floor and do weird moves, whatever. Okay, I play. Nobody in my family stops me. Not on the computer. I spend too much time on the computer already. I play whatever. I just made it up. Okay, you make it up as you go. That trains your play muscle again.
Wow, I think this is a huge mind shift for a lot of people listening. Like, what? Schedule playtime? I mean, we can understand scheduling exercise time or walking our dog, but like just play, right?
Healing for the soul, healing for emotions, profound impact on human communication. I mean, would you rather spend time with a person who is fun versus a person who's always serious and wants to solve problems all the time? What do you prefer?
Yeah.
Common sense, no science, no scientific backup necessary.
And it's so great that you brought up this concept right now of like wanting to solve problems, because I think a lot of parents who maybe see their kids struggling, especially over COVID and everything that's been going on, the first thing they want to do is, they want to help, how can I fix this, right? What advice can I give? And that kind of causes a disconnect for a lot of younger people. They're like, I don't want the advice. I don't need the advice, or whatever that might be. So it's kind of interesting that this whole shift in thinking, really from thinking to feeling to play to fun for ourselves. And then we can allow that to, expand into our communication and engagement with others. And I imagine into the workplace, in our relationship with our spouses or partners, with our friends.
Yes, fundamental different. If you are known as a playful person, guess what? You build natural authenticity and authority. No matter what age group you belong, whatever profession you have, it doesn't matter. That's on the doing level. Playing is on the being level. It touches our souls immediately. If you see somebody playful, we ask this person for advice because you get more mental flexibility, of course. It feeds right back into the mind because guess what? Mind and heart are connected already. Since you were born, it happens in the womb of your mom. There's no need to reconnect, but there's a need to train. There's a need to practice. There's a need to exercise the play muscle. There's a need to exercise the mindset to stay playful, to stay creative, not to narrow down to one thing only in a myopic perception. No. Stay open. Receive what's coming from the left and the right field. Like when you play soccer or football, whatever, you have your eyes wide open. What's going on? And you play full out. Okay? This is advanced play and very focused play. We call it sports. We are for the creative play, the mind-blowing play, the heart-opening play, the imagination play. I mean, you name it, it's a colorful universe of play out there, completely neglected. I'm here at Genius Coaching to help you rediscover that. It is so rich, absolutely unbelievable. And I love success story. I like openness, I like joyfulness, I like playful, I like thankful, and then I like thoughtful. These four are my mantras.
Well, I know you embody them just from our personal relationship and having watched, like I said, your trainings and your videos. I've actually seen that, headstand of yours on video, and
there we go.
And you really do embody what you share. And certainly you've seen the evidence from all the, as you said, thousands of people, kids, families that you've worked with. How can people learn more about, parent playtime, about Genius Coaching, and really giving themselves and their kids an opportunity to be assessed and to get some helpful strategies?
Great question. Just go to geniuscoaching.com, my favorite colorful website. Scroll down a little bit to see our programs. And the second one is called Parent Playtime. That takes you right there. And then contact me personally if you need more questions, want to discuss your situation. I offer a 20-minute complimentary consultation. So you can share your story. I always like to hear play story or the lack of play story, play deprivation stories, and desire to learn how to play stories. So please contact me personally. We'll be happy to through our webpage. Follow me on Instagram, on Facebook. You see colorful videos on Facebook, on Instagram, 10-second videos. I do one every day to show playfulness in action. Daily video, 10 seconds. A whole selection is up there, Instagram.
That's so fantastic, because I know one of the things that was going through my mind is, what can we do? Give us ideas, give us ideas. So I'm so grateful that you've created that platform to be able to share those ideas with people. And Otto, thank you for today. I think certainly I speak for myself, and I imagine for others, that this reminder that play is a decision. And no matter how we grew up with deprivation of play or lots of play, that we can choose the way we want to be with ourselves and with others, especially with our children or grandchildren. And thank you for these beautiful gifts that you've shared with us today.
My pleasure. And you're a masterful language artist. And I love our interaction. And I love that you mentioned my handstand as well. So let's keep playing, Verit. You are very playful. I love your bright smile. That's a good start for playing. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Otto.